After several delays, 25 movies, and millions of martinis, it's finally here. Daniel Craig's final Bond movie, No Time to Die, is in theaters now, and my God, it's amazing. So there's no time to waste. Here is No Time to Die. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Mario Lima here from Friggin Media, bringing you guys the nerdy stuff that you love. And today we are talking about a big one, No Time to Die, Daniel Craig's final Bond film, the 25th film in the franchise. So good, amazing. Before we get to that, let's do a little housekeeping here. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Help support the channel. Follow us on various forms of social media: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. Friggin Nerds Media. Hit us up on Twitch, Friggin Nerds Media. We stream the Friggin Nerds podcast on there, Dungeons & Dragons, Crafts and Cocktails, all kind of fun stuff. So be sure to follow the channel for fun stuff like that. But let's get into it, guys. Man, this film, I don't even know where to start, man. Directed by Cary Fukunaga, music by Hans Zimmer, No Time to Die is probably one of the best Bond movies in the franchise, and that's a shoot for me. I had an extremely fun time watching this movie. I'm going to see it again this weekend. Had a great time. Where to start? Spoilers, by the way. Of course, I gotta spoil this movie. I gotta talk about this movie. So if you haven't seen No Time to Die yet, turn this off, go watch it, come back, and let's talk some James Bond. Opening scene was ridiculous. We got the classic gun barrel, which is great to hear in theaters, which I saw in IMAX, by the way. I think this is the quintessential way to watch this film, is in IMAX. The first half an hour alone is shot for IMAX. Like we have the opening Aston Martin DB5 car chase. About a half hour into the movie or so, we have this really great. We get introduced to our villain, Rami Malek's character, pretty early on in a like a horror movie type of feel. Michael Myers almost, you know. He's hunting a young Madeline Swan, which Madeline Swan was introduced in Spectre, the movie before, which that is something that people have been kind of complaining about, is Madeline Swan. We'll get to that later. But that opening sequence of like him kind of hunting the house and trying to find her, ends up killing her mother, and like because he had a vendetta against her family, because her father, Inspector, is Mr. White, who's one of the members of Spectre that we see in, I think he's in Casino Royale. We see him a bit in Quantum. He comes back in Spectre and finally is killed by Bond. Bond doesn't make it out of this movie alive. A lot of that kind of shows in the composition of the film. A lot of kind of oranges and reds, kind of a sunset kind of feel, symbolizing the sun setting on James Bond, essentially. So it's not the last of James Bond we'll ever see, but it's the last of Daniel Craig that we'll see. But we'll get to that as we go on. I'm not going to talk about the whole film. Like, I'm not gonna go through the whole whole entire thing. I'm just gonna kind of hit some key notes of the film that I like. One other thing that I really enjoyed with this, the cast. The cast is great. The cast has been great since the beginning of this. You know, like Daniel Craig. Like, Daniel Craig is a fantastic James Bond. Like there will be no other like him with this series. You know, from Casino to Quantum to Skyfall, just a different take on Bond, and a good take. We do get, like, you know, Casino Royale is a very different film. Like I thought about that, like going back to Casino versus No Time to Die. They are two completely different movies, and just seeing the evolution of him. You know, so some more gags, some more traditional Bond antics in this film. You know, you have your DB5 in there with the gadgets. Bond has some gadgets himself. He has like a watch, EMP bomb, and all that stuff. A little bit of some quips in there. Everything you love in a Bond film, but just mixed nicely, and it didn't take away from the movie for me. One thing that it might have taken away from some other people, um, this movie was a true celebration of the James Bond franchise. What I mean by that is a lot of nods to the past films, few fun Easter eggs, really cool. Which some people criticize because, like in the new Star Wars trilogy, people didn't like the fan service of Force Awakens, or even some of the other films in the trilogy. Uh, but it was a different kind of fan service for Bond. The Bond fandom is very different from your Star Wars fandoms and your Marvel fandoms. There are things that are just, it's just a different fandom. It's just the fans are different. We tend to look at things like the score. The score in this movie, Hans Zimmer killed it. There are some nods musically to old films that some people might not hear. I only hear it because I know the film so well. But just a nice little taste for the true fans. But we notice little things like that, and it makes the fandom that much more special to me. Other little nods, the cars. Let's talk about the cars for a second. Of course, as I mentioned, the Aston Martin DB5 in the beginning, which is the one we saw in all the movies, basically. We see him drive off in this at the end of Spectre, so we knew he was still going to be driving it around, although it doesn't make it that far into the movie. After that opening sequence, after the car chase, we find out Madeline Swan, there's something going on, there's something sketchy, where they finally separate, and in the opening graphics of the No Time to Die theme sequence, you see a DB5 going underwater, so I'm sure that symbolizes the car is gone, and because he had to run off and hide, so of course he can't keep that car, which is a shame. Should have gave it to me. I would have taken great care of that car. Another car that makes it into the movie is the Aston Martin V8 Vantage, which was in the Living Daylights with Timothy Dalton, which is another nod to the old movies. So we get to see Bond in that car. Where he got it, I don't know. They don't even explain it in the film, so it's whatever, man. I don't care. It's a Bond film. It has cars in it. I am in. Give me. I'll take more of my money. And a couple of newer Aston Martins. The Aston Martin Valhalla was kind of featured in it, which actually just put in Rocket League, which is really exciting. But it wasn't really in the film that much. You kind of see it in the background at Q's lab. There's no real action in it. But it's a fantastic vehicle, for sure. It's a newer, I want to say it was probably a V12 Aston Martin, maybe a DB11, driven by the lovely Lashana Lynch, who, by the way, another fantastic part of this movie. Lashana Lynch, our new 007, in a way. We meet up with her. She's an MI6 agent. She is the new 007. When we find out, when her and Bond meet up, they're like, "Oh, you're a 00." It's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not just 00, I'm 007." And that kind of threw me for a loop. I'm like, wow, so you can replace the person under the number. You don't just retire the number, I guess, if that agent goes away. Which, of course, sparked everything. It's like, oh, is James Bond just a code name? No. James Bond is 007. For this movie, they made her 007. And, of course, towards the end, she ends up reinstating him as 007. It's like, I don't want to be 007 anymore. You can be 007 again. Which is great, and they work together. But she's fantastic in this movie. Just fantastic. She is not your traditional Bond girl. A lot of the women in this movie, not traditional Bond girls, kicking ass, taking names. There's a couple times Bond's trying to, get it in, and he's getting denied. And that was kind of a fun thing to see, where it's like, Bond doesn't have it anymore, man. Your sexual tricks do not work on us anymore. We have adapted, and we've grown to stronger women. I love seeing that. I think it's great. I would love to see a side story film with her in it, not necessarily, being 007, but she's an agent in MI6, and she's on missions and stuff, and I'm sure they'll consider that because I mean there is no James Bond anymore for now. We're gonna get a new Bond, obviously, a new reboot, of course, but you know, in this world, I like to see a little bit more. Um, so yeah, man, to kind of wrap up things, man. Like I said, I don't want to like go through the entire movie, but I just wanted to hit my points. I love this franchise, man. This franchise is fantastic. I know people kind of like, you know, they say it's dated, uh, which I understand. It's dated different times, different strokes, different folks. But to me, these movies are very special, and I'll say this. This is what really affected me. At the end of the movie, obviously, Daniel Craig, James Bond sacrificed himself. Um, if I mentioned, so he has a kid. I should probably mention that. So he has a kid with Madeline. When they separate, it's kind of like a little. She does this, and right away I was like, "Is she pregnant?" And it turned out she was pregnant. She had like a little daughter. So there's that family aspect in that, which you know is interesting in a Bond. You don't get to see Bond be dad. You know, which was an interesting thing to see, but it just affected me differently because at the end, Bond sacrificed himself. He dies. And then there's this scene, which closes the film, of the V8 Vantage driving down a country road, and Madeline's driving, and her daughter is in the passenger seat, and they're kind of driving along, looking at each other, kind of smiling at each other, and she looks to her and says, "I want to tell you a story about Bond, James Bond." And she smiles, and they kind of go off. And they play a big goose. I still got goosebumps thinking about it. They play "All the Time in the World" by Louis Armstrong, which was featured in Her Majesty's Secret Service. Which is Her Majesty's Secret Service. I would watch that film, then go see this movie again because there's so much parallels with those films, and a few of the other films too. But more I'll have to talk about. If you guys want to talk more about Bond, hit us up on the Discord. We'll talk more about Bond. But so this final scene, they're driving off. She says, "I want to tell you a story about Bond, James Bond." To me, that told me that she was about to tell her the story of Dr. No, the first Bond film. So my theory is she's just going to be telling her Bond stories, like the movies, the novels. But that hit me in a different way. Because my mother introduced me to James Bond when I was a kid. And that really kind of hit me. And it also reminded me like how special James Bond is to me because my mom introduced me to the franchise, and seeing that I kind of saw myself in the passenger seat, and it's like bringing me back to being a kid and be like, wow, that was deep. Like I feel like nobody else is really gonna have that thought. Maybe I'm sure there's people who have parents that like James Bond got shown to them. Like anything, Star Wars, Marvel movies, of course, you gotta pass it down. But that just hit me in a special way, and I teared up a little bit. My friend's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's nothing. So such a special movie, guys. So much fun. But I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Let me know in the comment section what you guys thought of this movie. Final score for me is gotta be a 9 out of 10. If we're going by 007 rules, which 001 is the worst and 007 is the best, give it a 006.5. That good. Not perfect, has its things. You know, Rami Malek kind of was one of the weaker points of the movie. He's a great villain, but I didn't see myself focusing much on him, where I'm focusing on everything else. But Rami Malek is still fantastic. You know, Freddie Mercury, come on, he's great. Mr. Robot, like, he is fantastic. Killer cast, killer movie, an amazing way to end Daniel Craig's run. His 15 years, guys. He broke the record that Roger Moore set, he was Bond for 12 years. Daniel was Bond for 15 years. Maybe it was a bit of a cheat because of the pandemic, but no. Even then, he would have beaten him in the record. But Daniel Craig, thank you for the years of service, 007. You were fantastic. This movie was great. I'm going to go see it multiple times. I cannot wait till the DVD comes out so I can watch it whenever I want. Keep streaming it whenever I want. I love this movie. But again, let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. I want to hear all your thoughts. If you want to discuss more Bond with me personally, I'm always floating around the Friggin Nerds Discord. So come on in, let's chat some James Bond. As always, guys, be sure to follow us on various forms of social media. Friggin Nerds Media, everywhere you look. Thank you guys so much for all the support, and we will be back. And of course, stay friggin' nerdy, Mr.